everybody, welcome to the Black Sheep Props channel. I'm Steve and I'm here to teach you the tips, tools, techniques, and materials for building your very own super cool EVA foam props. Now in our last episode, making an EVA Foam Ray Gun Part 1, we completed the front third of our ray gun. And it took the whole episode for that, not because it was hard, but because we had to take a little bit of time measuring out all of our circles, putting our marks in so that when we lined everything up, it would be straight and not off center. We had a truncated cone in there. We had all of our fins around the front end, a second truncated cone in the middle, but not a hard build, but it took a little bit of time just to make sure we had everything lined up. Now, in tonight's episode, making an EVA Foam Ray Gun Part 2, we're going to knock out the back 2/3 of the ray gun. We're going to build this whole front coil section, we're going to build the back body of the ray gun, and we're going to build the handle. And again, nothing on here is hard. Nothing we've done so far is hard. You're going to be able to do all of this. So, if you're ready to hit it, let's make something. Okay, now here are our little details that are going to go on the side of our body. We need to do 2 sets of those. Cup the foam. We're going to stick these together. There we go. 1 cut, 2 pieces. Okay, now what we need is we need this smaller inner circle that we're going to stick on top of this piece and on top of this piece. So now we need to cut this out. Okay, so here we have 2 pieces of foam stuck together lightly with some spray mount. We're going to cut 1 time and we're going to end up with 2 pieces of foam. And there is the end. Voila. Look at that. We're going to heat seal it. So we heat sealed all of our pieces. Super glue on our small piece. We're going to use an extra piece of foam. We're going to smooth it around. Look at that. Nice. We're going to stick it down right in the middle, like so. We have our 2 details. We want our little button to go perfectly on the side, which lines up with that fin. And on this side, it lines up with that fin. So we know that's right where the center is going to be. Take our super glue, use it like that. We're going to come right over here to the side where we know it lines up. There we go. The whole front end of our ray gun is set. And the body is made up of 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to heat curl these pieces to bend this way and this way to put together to create this shape. Lightly stick together 4 pieces of foam, and we're going to cut it once. That way we're going to get 4 pieces from 1 cut. We don't want to tilt the blade because we don't want it. Look at that. Perfect 90-degree angle on this side. Now we're going to come to the long side. Now remember, try to not tilt your blade. Follow our curve around just like that. We're going to come right out the back end and bam. 1 cut, 4 identical pieces. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to heat curl our pieces. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold it around a foam ball, hold it so it's curving this way and this way. Look at that. Okay, so we have our 4 pieces curved, ready to go. And I also just wanted to take a second to explain this goofy thing. All this is a styrofoam ball you can get from any art supply store. I bought this from my local Michael's right on the corner. You can get any simple kind of container. You could get a small roll of tape or a container and take the lid off, and you just set the ball on top and you use it to rock your foam around in directions after you heat it. And that is the simple way to curve your foam. Run our glue along the side just like that, nice and smooth. 5 minutes to dry, and then stick our edge down like that, nice and even. And look at that, it is matching right up on the seam perfectly. This more careful, and then we're gonna bend the foam a little bit to get the end to line up, just like that. Pow! Look at that, that is tight. And we're going to line it up and we're going to stick the end together just like that. And then we're going to follow it along. Now that's contact cement, so it's going to stay. Now look, you can bend the foam down like this, so you can line it up real nice. So which is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to line it up. Careful here, because we want to bend. See how it's a little bit longer on this side? We're going to squeeze it in like that as we're lining it up. We're going to make sure it lines up perfectly, and pow. That is literally seamless. There is no raised edge anywhere. Everything matched up perfectly. We want to just hit the center part there. We want to stay away from our seams if we can. Nice and circular, because the foam loosens up and the tight glue holds its spot, and it makes it naturally go right back to a circle. And as you can tell, it has the little grooves in it, so we're going to get out our wood burner and we're going to burn these details in. We got our silver dots there and there. Don't slow down, don't speed up, stay right at the same speed. Wood burner, rockin'. We're going to cut right through. There's our thick and our thin set of strips. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to measure the circle we need for the cap on the end of the back part of the body of our ray gun. Perfect fit. That'll be. Okay, we contact cemented around the bottom side of our cap, the edge around the top. Okay, now we're going to wait 5 minutes. Remember, because foam bends and gives, we're going to line up the one edge we want, and watch this. Slowly, just bend it. Pow. Okay, now we need to cut out this little round piece that we're going to set on top of the end, where every piece of the crosshair is, just like that. So now we have our dots here and our dots here. We have our crosshairs drawn on both pieces. That way when we go to line it up, we can have it match perfect. Super glue, smooth out our... There it is, look at that. Handy dandy brass tube, and we're going to cut our little button for the back end. We're going to slide it back and forth. It's going to go right through the foam. Put a dab of super glue on the end, and we are going to smooth out our super glue just like that. Center this right in the middle of the crosshairs there, like so. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to begin to wrap our detail piece around the back end of the body. So what we're going to do first, strike through and get rid of that, and now we have a nice clean end to our line. So now we're going to use that. We're going to find out roughly where our line is, and we're going to cut it. So that once we slice it, the two ends will go right together. We want to trace around the bottom edge so we know where we're going to be gluing. Contact cement all the way around. Okay, now we're going to line up on our edge just like so, and then we're going to stretch our piece. And now what we're going to do when we get towards the end, this is the tricky part. So now line it up, look at that. See how we lined up the grooves right here? And then because foam gives a little bit, there we go. Very cool. Okay, now what we're going to do next is we're going to do our 4 fins. Okay, so we have our template transferred to our 4 stack of foam. 90-degree angle right through. Look at that, they just fall right off like you're slicing turkey at the deli. We're going to lightly heat seal these with our heat gun. So we're going to use our X-Acto knife to hold them. Run a bead right down the bottom like that. We're going to line it right up on the crease. Perfect, and that's all we got to do. We got to just follow it around to the seams. There we go, check that out. Wow. Okay, so now we're going to be building up the handle, which has a thicker centerpiece and then 2 thin outside pieces. So we're going to cut 2 of these outside pieces and 1 of the inside. We have our 2 thicknesses we want to use. Now we're thick foam, for the center part of our handle. We've got our 2 pieces of thinner foam. Now we're going to spray mount these together. Okay, this is our double stack of foam with our box cutter nice and sharp. Remember to stay at a 90-degree angle. You want it beautiful. Now this piece has a little bit of a curve at the end, so we're going to start at the curve like this. We're going to come right through. We're going to meet up with our steel edge and slide right through, and look at that, beautiful. Now, because the rest of this is sort of intricate, we're going to shift over to the X-Acto blade. We're going to come around the back end of the handle like so. We'll stick it right in there and slide right through. And there we go. Look at that. 2 identical thin pieces. We're going to get a 90-degree going. We're going to come in right along our Sharpie line at a 90-degree angle, and we're going to curve right into our steel edge and drag it down, and boom, look at that. Now we know when we come over with our thinner pieces and we line them up, they're going to line up and match perfectly with that curve. 90-degree cut for there, and now we're going to cut the rest of this on the bandsaw. Every edge that you cut around is at a perfect 90-degree angle. Okay, now we're going to use our Dremel and we're going to round off the edges of all of our pieces, and as you know, dust mask, use a dust mask, don't be a dum-dum. You don't want to breathe any of that dust in. Some nice rounded off edges, look at that, that is sweet. Okay, we're going to start with the 220. That is nice. Now we're going to come in with the 320. Wow, that really smooths it over nice. Okay, now we want to sweep off all the dust off our table. We always want to work with a clean surface. Oh yeah. Beautiful, nice and smooth. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to use our wood burner and we're going to carve these details into the top part of the handle. Okay, there's our silver dots. Those are going to be our lines that we're going to engrave with the wood burner. And get going at a speed. We don't want to change the speed so that our line is consistent all the way through, just like that. Okay, see that? Our line stayed consistent. It didn't get thicker, it didn't get thinner. So there's 2 lines. I'm not sure if I want to do the 3rd. I think I might just stick with the 2 lines. Here we see this is where our contact cement is going to go, all the way up to here. And now there's that side. Here, all the way up to here. Okay, we've coated the first two pieces, the one side of the thick piece and the matching piece that's going to stick on the outside. We're going to let those dry for 5 minutes. The front part of our handle is flush, and now we're going to just line up this top line all the way down. Flush, you can't even tell. There we go. And we're going to do the other side. Okay, now we're going to draw our line for this little front piece, the trigger guard, and for the trigger. That. And there we go. Voila. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to use the wood burner and we're going to burn a few small lines on this piece. Just like that. And there we go. Okay, next we're going to create our coils for our ray gun. So we're going to use round EVA foam discs, and then we're going to wrap our EVA foam dowels around our discs to create each individual piece, and then we're going to sandwich them together to create this area here. That is, we just took a disc and we measured our dowel around it and made a mark and cut it. Heat up our dowels. Okay, there's our 6 discs and our 6 heat curved EVA foam dowels. I push it on there and it's locked in place. Now roll it, meet up together. Like so. Okay, there's all 6. Very nice. We stuck down some pieces of foam on a piece of Bristol. So we stick the first piece in, and now we line each piece up and it'll fit in perfectly. So now we know that they're all lined up perfectly. Okay, we've waited 5 minutes after gluing our first 2 pieces. Slide it in all the way up to the edge. Boom, look at that, perfectly lined up. We prepare the rest of them and that's all we do. Our handy dandy jig worked perfectly. These we won't be able to use the jig because they're gonna need to float right in the center, so we're gonna have to eyeball those 2. There we go, and these are obviously going to stick to the back of this. Look. Okay, so we can glue inside that Sharpie line and we can glue the bottom of this piece. Okay, now these 2 pieces are dry. Now we're going to, and there we go. So we're going to glue the 2 sides. Okay, both sides have dried, so we're going to be very careful. We're going to flush this up with the very bottom, just like that. We're going to roll each side down. Now we're going to come around to this side and we're going to stick it down. We're going to line that up in the middle and boom, just like that. We're going to draw our Sharpie line so we know where we're going to be putting our contact cement. Our contact cement on for our handle's going to stick, and where our body wrap is going to go, we'll let those start drying. All 3 of our pieces are dry. Centered. Push everything down so it attaches. Look at that, very nice. That side is stuck down. All right, we've got our handle on. We're going to line our, so it matches up with the handle like that. And now we're just going to follow right along the edge. We're going to get a really sharp X-Acto blade and we're going to cut it off. Right across there, just like that. Tuck it in with our finger, like so. Look at that. Okay, so next we're going to stick our trigger guard on. So we're going to use super glue for that. We're going to bring this in. We're going to line it up in the center. And there's our trigger guard. Okay, now before we stick the trigger on, we're going to round the edges off with our Dremel. Slightly round edges, trigger super glued in place. The 2 little buttons that are going to go on here, which we're going to cut out with our handy dandy brass tube. We have a small dollop of super glue down. Second one. Perfect. Okay, our last detail is going to be our button on the end of our ray gun, and we're going to use our trusty brass tube for that. We spin back and forth 4 or 5 times. And that's it. Okay, we have a small bit of super glue there. We take our tip on our X-Acto blade, all wet on the bottom, right in the middle. Perfect. We are going to fill in these tiny little gaps between the handle and the coils. And we're going to use Quick Seal. Put a small dab on the end of a small plastic spatula. Like so. And voila, there you have it. Turned out perfect. You saw for yourself how easy this build is. You can do this. We're using all the same techniques that we used on our other videos, except for a couple new ones. We used EVA foam dowels, and we used a little bit of Quick Seal in here to fill our gaps. Okay, so that concludes making an EVA foam ray gun, part 2. There it is, we got the whole build finished. This is super nice, turned out great. Everything fit in there perfectly. Very cool, I love this thing, cool build. Next episode, making an EVA foam ray gun, part 3. We're going to seal it with our Plastidip. We're going to paint it. We're going to weather it. It's going to look awesome. There's going to be some rusty spots on here. Super cool. It's going to be good. I can't wait. This concluded making an EVA foam ray gun part 2. Hope you liked it. If you did, give us a like, share us with a friend, and better yet, subscribe to this channel. And together we're going to go through a lot more super cool builds step by step so that you get the props you deserve. Thanks for coming. See you next time.